What's up, everybody? I'm gonna be showing you some hacks you can use to catch some bass, some fish in the fall using a Ned rig. I don't rig this the traditional way. I like to drag it across the bottom. I also have a secret that I like to catch bass, and that is with a crappie magnet, a crappie lure. Works great for bass, especially in the fall, when they're not just mowing down huge baits, fast baits, stuff like that. This is how you catch them. But so I rig the Ned rig. I actually use a 1/0 EWG hook. I use a Braid to fluorocarbon leader, and on that 1/0 hook, I actually Texas rig a bullet sinker. Depending on how deep you are, I got a 16th ounce bullet sinker on mine right now. It's about a 35 feet deep lake that I'm at. And I do keep a little peg on that bullet sinker. You can raise it up if you want, to not have it pegged down. And then I just Texas rig that Ned rig right on there. And the cool thing about that is with the bullet weight, you can pull it through that heavy brush, all that junk on the bottom, because that's where the fish are going to be. They're going to be towards the bottom. Um, you can pull it through all that stuff with that bullet sinker, and you still have that Ned finesse style presentation because the Ned, it's made of that Elastec that floats. So it's not just going to be like your Cinco where it just wobbles slow down. You're going to keep it towards the bottom because those bass they're not as active. They're looking for something just to snatch up real quick and eat. Something slow, easy bait for them to eat. And that's the whole purpose of this, the way I rig this. It's a little bit non-traditional. If you're stuck in a spot that you keep getting snagged on the Ned rig, I would highly recommend giving this a chance. Because I live in Michigan. There's lots of water around. There's lots of vegetation, brush, stuff on the bottom in these inland lakes. And, I need something that's weedless, but yet finesse enough to where I can get those fish. But this is what it looks like. I actually got it rigged up on the screen there. I got the bullet sinker pegged because it's very heavy vegetation. It's all dying right now. So I'm constantly getting snagged. And if I try to rip it through, it's pulling right up with me. It's not like in the spring where it's strong and you can just rip it through and still fish it. It's the vegetation's dying. It's getting real cold at night, man. And instead of having to clean off my hook every time or getting snagged on some stuff, I can use this presentation to just keep my bait in the water longer. It's been very successful for me. I I just I had a lot of luck with the Ned rig. Had a lot of luck with the Ned rig. My prior years, I was like, man, this is an awesome bait. This is working great. It was really working, at in places that had a lot of gravel, sandy bottom, stuff like that. And that's primarily where I was fishing at the time. But then I started moving more into these inland lakes that, you know, um, there's a lot more vegetation. They're not as big. They're not as busy. I found a lot of bigger fish in them because they're not fished as often. And due to the composition on the bottom, how it's so weedy, there's lots of brush down there, trees, stumps, all this stuff. It's not open water. This is what's really been doing the trick for me. I've been using this and I've just been catching bass. I mean, this is catching bass in November, man. Like, I know it's very hard to do. They're not in the shallows. They're deep. They're not as hungry. They're not chasing bait like in the summer where you could pretty much just throw anything out there, reel it in fast, and you're gonna get bit. Um, this is completely different, a different style, and it was just straight catching them. I just thought I would share this trick, and it's not very expensive. I had I had a lead sinker on there, so it's just gonna sit on the bottom and it's gonna twirl with the current. It's just like your typical Ned rig, but you can punch it through those dead weeds and stuff like that. It's man, it really has changed my game. I can't attest to it enough. I've really enjoyed, trying to do different things, to catch fish, especially in tougher situations. I use fish brain, and on fish brain in my local area, I wasn't seeing any bass getting caught. And I try not to post fish on there too often. I don't want to give away my spots and stuff like that. I know you can keep it private, but I just go on there just basically for intel. And I wasn't seeing hardly any bass caught. This past week that I caught these bass no problem. And it was using this style bait. And people are out there right now, they're catching walleye, salmon, catfish, stuff like that, but man, I was still catching bass. I was able to find those bass, and it was a good time. Um Another way to catch bass, is using smaller baits like crappie jigs, stuff like that. But also, if you want to have some fun throwing around some crappie jigs in the fall, you throw around some crappie jigs, you're gonna catch some big panfish. It's like that's when they come out, to eat. When all the little ones go away, and you start throwing around this stuff when the little ones are, they're fed, they don't need to eat as much, but the bigger ones still need to get their food. This is the route to go. And here, I'm just throwing around an orange crappie jig, crappie magnet with a little paddle tail on there and just 16th ounce jig, ultralight tackle. And I caught this humongous bluegill. This thing was like 10.5 inches, and that's a pretty big bluegill for Michigan. I'll tell you what, our bluegill don't get that big. But yeah, this guy was just absolute tank of a bluegill. And when you transition into that fall period where the fish aren't biting, just being able to catch something that's big, it's such a relieving feeling. But yeah, look at that. I got this guy. I grabbed him. He's filling up my hand. I like getting these up close ones. You can see the colors a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, we're talking 30, 20 degrees at night, and during the day maybe 40, 50 degrees. I'm just toughing it out, man. I grew up here. I can deal with this cold weather. Um, but these fish are not active. They're not active. They're not chasing bait. It's beyond the bait chasing time for me. Maybe a few weeks ago they were chasing those schools of bait, just trying to feed up real good. And now they're migrating to their winter spots. And you might see me a little bit close to shore. This isn't a very big lake. And with that being said, it's major drop offs. It literally goes from 2 feet to 25 feet to 35 feet in a matter of 10 feet. So these fish, they're getting down deep in those deeper parts. And I'm just letting it fall down there towards the bottom, just kind of reeling it back slow so it stays in that strike zone close to the bottom, and as you can see, I was getting bit a few times there. So I knew, I was like, man, this must be where they're stationed up for the winter. I was getting pumped. Um, so, I'm just throwing it out there, 16th ounce jig, crappie magnet, letting it fall down to the bottom. I reel the slack in slow. I'm reeling really slow, just kind of bringing it in. And, they just see it. They don't have to do a lot of work. They just come up, grab it, and you get hooked up. So, yeah, as you can see here, I got a nice little crappie. I must have been on a little school of crappies, but hey, if you took the time to watch this video, I hope you learned something. I love fishing. I love trying new things, looking to enhance my skills. I love learning new things. I watch videos all the time. I do all this stuff. I love it, man. This is my thing. But if you watch this and you learn something, go ahead and give me a like. If you want to see other content, just leave a comment, man. I'm open to anything. I love doing new stuff, and thank you so much for watching. If you've made it to this point, I appreciate you. I could not be doing this without everyone's support. It really drives me to, want to do more things. So I appreciate every single one of you. Um, I hope you guys all have a great Christmas. You guys take care. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Later.